Hello, Literacy Land learners. You're welcome to another episode on Literacy Land, your number one station for learning English that you can use for your studies and even in your communication. Today, we're looking at nouns, one of the foundations of English. Come along and let's learn together. All right, so today we're going to be learning about nouns, like I said, and by the end of the lesson, you will have been able to achieve these things. Number one, you will be able to identify the different types of nouns. And number two, here, you will be able to understand how to use nouns correctly in sentences. And number three, you will learn fun ways to use nouns in your daily life. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, so we get straight into things right now. What are nouns? What are nouns? Put simply, they are words that name people, places, things, or ideas. Nouns are words that name people, places, things, or ideas. That simply tells us that any word that gives names is a noun. So if you're in a situation where the instruction requires you to identify the nouns in a sentence or in a passage, you just need to look out for one quality. Is that word naming? That is it giving names, whether to people, to places, to things, or to ideas? And so we have some examples of such. For a person now, or for people, singular person, plural people, you have teacher, all right? The name for someone who teaches, teacher, all right? Then you have doctor, the name for someone who treats people's health conditions. For place, all right, you have school, a place of learning. And then you have Nigeria, a country in West Africa. For thing, you have book, and then you have bicycle. For idea, you have happiness and freedom. So that's the principle there. Any word that gives names to people, to places, to things or ideas is a noun. So I have a simple task for you right now. Look around you. What are the nouns you can find? Note them down in your book as we move on to the next level. Thank you. Now, when you talk about the types of nouns, we can generally say that there are six of them. Six types of nouns. First, we have what we call common nouns. And when we say common nouns, you think about the name. It's common. That means you can find it easily. And so we refer to that as the general names of people, the general names of places, or the general names of things. For instance, a general name for people is boy. If you say boy, it could be anybody. It's general. For place, if you say market, it could be any market at all in the whole world. And then if you say thing, for something like a chair, it could be any chair at all. So when you talk about the general names of people, places, and things, then you're talking common nouns. The second type there is proper nouns. And when we say proper nouns, we're saying specific names. When we say something is specific, it means that when you hear it, you think of somebody. When you hear it, you think of some place. When you hear it, you think of something because it is specific. It is attached to that person. It is attached to that place. It is attached to that thing. So, for example, when we say Ejigbo market, when we say Oshodi market, Anyone who lives around those areas automatically knows what we're talking about. It's not just any random market, it's a particular place for a proper noun. So, Ejibo market, Oshodi market, therefore a specific place. And then when we talk about a specific people or person, then you begin to come up with real names of people. You can say Jackson, you can say David, you can say Nathaniel. By the time you say that around people who are close to you, they can easily deduce whom you're referring to because it is specific. All right. And then when you talk about um, the third the third type of noun now is concrete nouns. Concrete noun, just like the name, you talk of concrete, the ones we use to make buildings. You can touch them, you can see them, all right? And you can even feel them. When you touch your bricks, for instance, you can say that they are rough because you can touch them. You see them because they exist in the physical, and you can touch them as well. So concrete nouns refers to the names of the things we can see, we can feel, and we can touch. Common examples are the wristwatch. If you were close to me, you could touch it, you could see it, you could feel the way it is on the hand. Another example could be a book. All the things that you can see, that you can feel, that you can touch. All right. Number four, there we have abstract nouns. When we say that a noun is abstract, then we're talking of the names of the things we cannot touch. The names of the things we cannot touch, generally referring to ideas, emotions. For instance, you cannot touch fear, you cannot touch joy, you cannot touch excitement, you cannot touch disappointment, but you can feel these things. Number five is collective nouns. Now, when you think about that name, it already gives you an idea. When we say that something is collective, it's gathering, it's bringing together. So, a collective noun there is the name of a group. When you group certain kinds of people, the name you call them is a collective noun. When you group certain kinds of animals, the name you call them is a collective noun. For example, when footballers come together, you have a team. When workers in a place are together, you have members of staff. All right. And then when you have a group of animals too, there are names for that. All right. Um, when you have fishes gathered together, for instance, that has a name. It's called a school of fishes. All right. So the name you give when there is a group of people or a group of animals, that name is a collective noun. For instance, when children are together in a learning environment, you have a class, and so on like that. Finally, we have countable and uncountable nouns, and these are self explanatory. If we say that something is countable, we're simply saying we can count it. It has number. All right. One, two, three, four, and on like that. For instance, you can count people. You can count people. And when we say something is uncountable, we're talking of something you cannot count. For instance, you cannot count water. All right. You cannot count salt. And when you come to those kinds of things, what you begin to use in measuring them is to count what they are contained in, the containers that they're used to measure. So these are the types of nouns. I hope you understand. So we've learned about what nouns are, and we've seen examples of nouns as people, places, things, and ideas. We've also gone on to look at the different types of nouns that exist. Now I need you to do something real quick for me, and that is to spot the nouns in these sentences. So it says, yesterday, my friend and I went to the market. We bought apples, oranges, and a big watermelon. It was a fun day. Look through all of this and tell me what nouns you can find. When you find them, let me know in the comments. And for your homework, do this. Look around you at home and at school and even in the environment and write down as many nouns as you can find. And when you write them down, tell what type of noun each one is, whether it's a proper noun, whether it's a common noun, whether it's a collective noun, whether it's an abstract noun, whether it's a countable noun or an uncountable noun, or maybe it is a concrete noun. I'm sure that when you do all of this, you will find how easy it is to understand nouns and you would have learned something new. Until I come your way again next week, this is me saying thank you for joining class today and see you next week.